following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
Let's tidy up this tangle of film by putting it on a reel. Here is a motion picture film, 1,000 feet, 16,000 separate photographs.
Welcome, everyone, to the official space section of the chart.
The truth! You can't handle the truth!
Sir, you're out of order.
Out of order. I show you out of order.
Hey, everybody, I'm Michael.
I'm Antonio.
And we're your real debaters this week. Welcome back to the show, listener. Welcome to our Halloween special. We got two lovely topics for you. We have the horror miniseries. It's Rise. It's thing that it's everywhere now. Every network is doing it. HBO did it with The Outsider, right? Mike Flanagan's doing it with Netflix. Horror is all over Disney now with American Horror Stories, American Horror Story, Grotesquerie, and then we're going to compare two different subgenres of horror. We're going to talk about the psychological, and we're going to talk about the supernatural. We're going to talk about how those movies have affected us, how we get affected. Does one scare us more than the other? Do I go run to Shauna faster? Do you go run to Marcel faster? What the how do we react to these things? I remember my mom showed me Silence of the Lambs for the first time and walked around the house after with a knife just to make sure Hannibal hadn't gotten in the house.
Holy crap.
Yeah, that movie really affected her. So that's what's on the show for you this week, listener. But before we get into it, we want to let you know that there's a bunch of things happening. One of them specifically is a big damn deal. We were tasked with spreading the good word. We've been sponsored by Kevin Smith Gets Winnipegged, which for you, listener, it's a pretty big deal. If you like Kevin Smith, first of all, you should go because there's going to be a Kevin Smith Q&A. I don't need to tell you why those are fun. If you're a fan, you know. But the reason he's coming to town is because a movie was made in 2019 called Phantom of Winnipeg, and it's a documentary about why in 1974 this town, our town of Winnipeg, went absolutely insane for a movie called Phantom of the Paradise. Tony, you've seen it?
I've seen it.
It's a fucking crazy movie, isn't
it? It is. Not only is it a bizarre movie on its own, it's unbelievable the fact that our city in the entire world kept that movie alive, and collectively we were all going out to that movie to see it
four times a day for some ungodly amount of time. I think it was like over a year it was in theaters.
I think so. It was a really long time.
Well, everywhere else it was completely disregarded. Like no one showed up. It's a Brian DePalma movie too, for fuck's sake. The guy who made Scarface made this movie. So Friday, November 1st, Kevin Smith's in town. The documentary filmmaker, Malcolm Ingram, he's also going to be in town. And one of the characters from the movie, one of the actors, Peter Elbling, is going to be hosting the whole damn thing. So you're going to watch the movie about why we created... I honestly say we made fandom before fandom was a thing. Because, these little pockets of movies, right? Like Rocky Horror Picture Show has a following. Evil Dead has a following, right? This is our Evil Dead. So what I'm saying is for a really good price and a really fun time and a really great evening, you can watch the documentary. I've watched it. I swear by it. It's fun. It's sweet. It's endearing. It's enjoyable. If you want to see your town as part of a story, you go to this screening. And it's only a one-time screening, so you're not going to get to see it again. You're not going to see it on Tubi. You're not going to see it anywhere online. You're not going to be able to buy it. It's a one and done. 7:30 November 1st, Burton Cummings Theater. Tickets are on sale. Tickets are in our show notes. You can buy them right now. We'll be there. Maybe you'll get to ask Kevin a question. You know what happens when you do. Plan for about 45 minutes. And get the best answer of your life, and that's that. So, and also, there's more show notes. This is a simple one. November 15th, we're doing another trivia night. If you've been to one of these trivia nights, they're interactive, fun, silly. If you want to argue for points, we let that happen. We're not your stuffy trivia people where it's like, our rules and that's it. Okay? If you can correct us, publicly, mind you have to do it in front of everyone. If you can do that, then we might give everyone a point. So, November 15th, 7:30 p.m., Capital K Cocktail Room is where it's happening. That's a lot of C's in there. Unit 3, 1680 Dublin. It's a brand new cocktail room. We're going to have the Real Debaters Punch, which is a themed cocktail. 4 rounds of trivia. Prizes to the winner, as always. Buy your tickets now. These do sell out. There's only room for like 40 people in this room.
Okay.
Tiny room.
It's
so,
intimate.
Very intimate. Teams of 4. $10 a ticket. Get your ticket. Come have some fun. You're going to be like, it's November 15th. The snow has already arrived.
Do not jinx us. Don't jinx us.
I know. But what I'm getting at is that at that point in your life, you're going to be like, I need something to do. Come hang out with us forget it's cold outside, get a couple drinks in you, win some cool shit, and we'll have a good time. So, listener, as mentioned, first up, we're talking about the horror miniseries. It is something that you can see, as mentioned, on almost every single streaming network out there. Ryan Murphy has perfected it.
Yeah.
Essentially, with American Horror Stories, I think was one of the big ones. But they've been around since there's a 1997 version of The Shining as a miniseries.
Correct. And I think I would argue it even goes back further, right? Because if you look at primetime television, technically you could put V into this category, right?
You could.
Television dips its foot over there. You could look further back to the Alfred Hitchcock Sunday night show where they were starting to dip their foot into it. You know, you go Outer Limits. You are going
Twilight Zone.
So we've been prepping ourselves slowly over time. And then my favorite, of course, during the 80s, you know, we'd have those mini series. Exactly. It coming out on a 2-night special.
Tommyknockers, I think, was one too.
Tommyknockers, they had a huge Stephen King kind of love fest for every year on television for a while. There was a...
Then he was like, "Stop fucking my shit."
Well, the Tommyknockers would be one of those to say.
Yeah, definitely. Langoliers was one of those too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's a good reference. There was, I think, a show in the 80s with Valerie Harper, Don't Go to Sleep.
Yes.
About her dead child was killing her family off one by one. So I think we've been having these slowly building, but you are correct. I think particularly as we moved into online streaming and cable, they have hooked their fingers into this because it's a money pit.
I'm screwed. Like, I'm absolutely screwed when it comes to, you give me a good 8 to 10 episode dark psychological horrific thriller.
Yeah.
I want it because I like true crime.
Correct.
Right? So I like installments. I like always having something to go back to and like milk it. So when I get these long movies, right? Like specifically Mike Flanagan's my guy. Like I do not trust anyone more than I trust him when it comes to entertaining me. As soon as a new Mike Flanagan thing comes out, I don't care what it is.
Nice.
It drives me. And I think I like my horror in that more than I like watching a movie. I feel it's too quick because horror movies are traditionally 90 minutes?
Yeah.
Right? But if you the elevated horror, as Jimmy would say, right? Like bringing the idea of horror beyond just jump scares.
Yes.
And beyond,
the slasher,
Thank you, slasher. Yeah, right. Like when you get into giving characters some story and some depth, you get a lot. I get a lot more. I don't know. What about you?
No, I like where you're going with that. I think I will have to say it's probably harder to produce even just a 10-episode serial kind of horror show because you have to recreate the same arc every show, right?
Yeah.
So in a movie, you have the backstory, you're slowly having people maybe killed off, and then you hit the big scene where everyone either find out who the killer is or find out who the final girl is, and then you wrap it up either in a nice bow at the end, or it drops you for your
It's
follow-up.
a mathematical equation, just X plus X plus X equals this, right?
Exactly. Whereas if you have to do a serial, you have to create this arc every episode.
Or extend the arc.
Correct.
Right? Like you have to, it's like, okay, I know how to do this in 90 minutes, but now I have to come up with filler, and good filler.
Yeah.
Right? Red herrings that don't take you too far off the beaten path, but enough that you're like again, Mike Flanagan with like Bly Manor.
Yeah.
Is it Bly Manor? No, it's Haunted Hill where they don't know they're dead, right?
Correct.
Yeah. That alone, the sadness of it was more horrific than the actual show. But it is all rooted in all of the things that make a good horror story, right?
Yeah.
You've got a haunted house, you've got ghosts, you've got jump scares, but it gives you way more in return than I think Smile would.
Yeah.
Example, right?
And to give Ryan Murphy some full credit here,
I think he's the guy who turned it back on.
Yeah, he's really turned it back on, and he's creating 10, 13, hopefully he'll be stopping soon, of these individualized series, but he's having to weave a connection through each one of them that he had to pre-think almost out, right? Because Haunted House is connected to Coven, which is connected to Rancori. And so...
Do you think he thought that out, or he was like, I think I need to start keeping
think
the
he
dogs.
actually did think this out, to be honest.
Really? Okay.
Whether or not he sat there with his sketch wall and had this all fully planned out.
murder board.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I gotcha. But, it's there's a smartness to that, right?
Yeah.
I also give him credit where I really liked was trying to bring back almost the same actors and then flip them in a new
Evan Peters, Sarah Paulson, like just musing the shit out of them.
but in a new story every time, right? Where it's not like
Stretch it.
You're having, which I did enjoy, Yellow Jackets, which unfortunately is we have not seen it come back again.
That's just a strike pause. That's not a. It's.
Fingers crossed.
We need that back in our lives.
because you're seeing these actresses now doing other things, and we're like, are you now linked into things other ways?
Did you sign another 5-year contract?
Well, this is it. But at some point, hopefully they have understood that the story should be just 4 years or 5 years, and will tell the shit out of their backstories and all that. But you can't keep having the cliffhanger over and over to try to bring us back, or else it's lost, or it's just it falls apart, right?
You can't use it in that format, right?
Yeah.
No, I totally get it. Which, like what we're looking at, this, like Swarm is even on here. Swarm is crazy. Did you see Swarm?
I did not see Swarm. I'm really
Swarm is the horror of fandom.
Yes.
When someone goes absolutely ape shit crazy for like a Beyonce type character.
Yes,
and willing to kill like how Taylor has her squad.
Yeah.
This is Dark Squad.
Yes.
Is what this is. One that I think really taught me, like my first, if we want my first, The Stand.
Interesting.
My mom and me used to watch the fuck out of that.
Interesting.
And that was, and I mean, to really get sucked into something, I mean, that's more of a miniseries event.
Correct.
Right? It's not the new miniseries where it's 52 minutes and 8 episodes and you're one and done.
I really like these are more these episodic kind of ones. I loved Hannibal.
So did I.
I thought that was well acted, well thought out, really telling the backstories of all of these characters that we have seen across multiple different books and different movies portrayed differently. Yep. But it was smart, Gillian Anderson in there. You're having a great cast of characters or of actors who are performing some of their best acting, I thought. But even the horror aspects of it was stylized, was done extremely well.
Yeah.
So, I think horror, unfortunately, gets a lot of bad rap.
It's cheap. It's where people start their careers. We talk about this every year, and it's like it is finally getting its due. And I think this might have been the better way to.
I think give
it than to just continually make. Like, I mean, I love It Follows. I love Smile. I like these new horror movies that are like when someone kills themselves, it creates this entity that then goes on and kills you 7 days later. I think this Talk to Me, right? With Talking Beyond the Dead and holding the hand for 3 seconds. All these things are cool, but they're in the same vein for production wise. They don't get the length. They don't get the attention that you can do with one of these. Did you watch Castle Rock?
I did watch Castle Rock.
I was really butthurt that it ended.
Yeah, I'm a huge Stephen King fan. I love that they kind of focused it on Dolores Claiborne's character here,
right?
And trying to get more of that backstory.
Well, and some Shawshank in it too.
Correct, because he was trying to link.
He was trying to universe the King world.
Exactly, because even in the books themselves, there are some links even over, through it and through the Tommyknockers and all that needful things. They're trying to bring that together through this show. I just think it lost its way a little bit, right? So
it did. It really. No, I agree with you. It started. I think it was like, this is really great, but I don't. They came to a point where they're like, there's so much.
Yeah,
I don't think we can do this.
Correct.
And they're like, if we do this, it's going to get really expensive.
And also, I think, unfortunately, Stephen King is a very prolific writer who creates visual, vivid characters that are inside your mind.
Yeah.
The moment
they've been there for a while.
The most times you've seen it on screen, it never lives up to it. There's only maybe a handful in movies that you could say, that is exactly how it was close to what I thought it would be. Thinking of The Green Mile on one level, all the way to the new It version.
I know the Dark Tower got really fucked.
Yeah.
Like people were like, "Really? What are you doing with these two? And why are you trying to take this 14-book epic saga and condense it?" Did you see The Outsider?
I did watch The Outsider.
It didn't really fade. You didn't? No,
No.
Not a thing.
No.
I thought it was really cool.
Did you? Okay.
How it like blobbed you and then like made a different version of like it took over you and then put you in two places at once, and that's how the whole like it. Again, supernatural versus psychological, right? Like we'll get into that, but I like that one. I think I like that one just because Jason Bateman had a lot of creative freedom in that one, and he's a really good director.
Yes.
So I was more inclined to that. Well, go ahead.
Sorry. No. Have you seen Them?
I haven't yet.
Stellar. This one is stellar. It's building on what. Certainly Director Peele has been doing with Nope and Get Out, of how racism is its own evil, and how it can permeate into certain people and drive their character. So are they crazy? Are they just racist? Is there something more there?
Interesting.
And it is done extremely. Some fantastic acting is coming across all around. There are moments, probably much in the same vein as in Get Out, where you'll cheer, going, "Yep, you got what you deserved," and yet surprised that that's how it went.
I do like comeuppance on screen. I can't get it in real life, so I got to go to 16 by 9 to get it. But when you do see that, and you're like, "Fucker." Yeah, get it coming to you.
But I think you and I, being fans of Winnipeg, being fans of these series, nothing. We cannot not support Channel Zero.
Fuck yes.
Filmed here in Winnipeg,
Oakbank, Dugald, Winnipeg,
and really well done. This was not that kind of B-level kind of movie series. It's not a Hallmark movie series, certainly.
Well, it was B-level stories, as in creepypastas and weird internet like weird things, but then on a scale of like good production.
Correct.
Like I was like, okay, if we're gonna do this weird thing, do the weird thing, and they really did a good job on it. The Nowhere House, was that the second season?
I think that was the second season.
Yeah, that's where they go into the house and
yes.
they keep on going to another. That one fucking rocked me.
I think season 1, where it was the Tooth
Pirates
Kid.
Cove.
Pirates Cove, with the Tooth Kid.
Yeah.
That, I don't know if it's a costume, I don't know if it's CGI.
Parents getting killed by their children always is fucking scary.
But done well.
Done very well. And like, with a Canadian sheen, right? Like you knew if you were from Canada and you were watching this in like Australia, you'd be like, I know where that was made. But like, good, right?
Yeah.
John Carroll Lynch was in the second season.
Yes.
Right? He's played in fucking tons of shit. I mean, God damn it, he was what's-his-face's brother on the Drew Carey show.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Like, Channel Zero did it proper. Sci-Fi just dropped their funding for some reason, obviously. I guess there wasn't a huge fault. Like, Rutger Hauer did a season, The Butcher Block.
Yes.
Right?
Which was done well. And I love the fact that you saw, I think it was Fun Mountain.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
So.
Hey, and who doesn't like seeing an old dilapidated Mountain of Fun
it just
in the background?
Warmth to my heart.
I was like, I cut myself on that slide. I've been in that pee-filled pool.
That thing is scary.
I got memories. Channel Zero is very, very good. What else do we have on here? I can zoom in a little bit. There's some ones that I wish I'd seen. Did you see Lovecraft County? Martin watched it. Said it was really good.
That is extremely done well. Fantastic. As that came out, and I think at the same time, The Watchmen, the series came out. Or it came out before The Watchmen.
Yep.
Both equally fantastic. Great performances, well thought out, brilliant in the writing and the creativity in Lovecraft there.
Isn't it like different Lovecraft stories played out through the series?
It is.
So if you're a Lovecraft book fan. Then this is...
It should speak to you very well. And the level of goriness on some levels of from the creatures, extremely riveting.
What about... I mean, The Walking Dead isn't a mini... Well, The Walking Dead City was.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you ever get into any of the spawn-offs of The Walking Dead?
I tried watching The Walking Dead. The problem for me, like a lot of my friends...
Yeah.
Great acting, great writing, great special effects.
Yep.
You can only get depressed for so long because there is never a moment of happiness ever. Because the moment you get happy, someone either rips up through the soil, like the child sitting on the bath,
100%.
on the mat, then gets eaten and killed, and you're just like, yep, back to reality. And so at some point you're like, I got to cut myself off because this is just a pit of despair.
I 100% agree with you on that, because I'd watch it and I'm like, okay, we're not going anywhere fun. That's the usually when you're outrunning a zombie, you are attempting to get someplace safe and everybody survives at the end. But this is just a treadmill of depression and killing, and there's no hope. And I totally. So when all this other side shit from it, I liked it at first.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, we're gonna do a zombie show. How are we gonna do that? How are we gonna watch people walk slow for a while? But obviously, these were the zombies that take steroids. That's fine. I get that. Different than George Romero's zombies. But at the same time, it had some depth to it until I stopped watching when was it the captain, the guy with the eye patch?
Okay.
The prison.
Yes.
When he tried to storm the prison. That's where
Now, I will say one of the best on the, made-for-TV movies or serial movies on zombies.
Yeah.
There was one, I think it came out of the BBC, but don't quote me on that one, where the zombie apocalypse happens outside of a Big Brother reality world.
Oh, really?
And they infiltrate the Big Brother set. So these actors do not know that there's an apocalypse because they have no access to the outside world. But one of their tech...
They're just competing for shit.
They're just competing. And I guess one of their tech person who stepped out for a cigarette got bit and brings it inside. And now it's just unraveling.
Oh, that's fun.
On TV.
Right? Because people are like, yeah, give me more.
Right. So really well done. And in the final scene, you have one girl. She locks herself in the booth where you tell your deepest soul as all the zombies are trying to break their way in, and you just see she's getting ready to just open the door and fight her way out, and you just don't know if she makes it.
I'm gonna watch this.
Yeah, I gotta look up the title and get it to you.
We had talked about this. Grotesquerie is doing absolute wonderful things with the. Maybe it'll be more. Maybe we don't know. We're in the middle of watching it right now. But for something that had to replace Hannibal, let's say, I mean, Hannibal was a series, but nonetheless, I really felt, I was like, I want more blood. I want more. I want more meat. I want something that's not filling that void. And I was really happy when we got caught up in it. And I was like, okay, I'm along for this ride. Niecy Nash, absolutely killing it. If you haven't seen it, listener, it's on Hulu right now. But it's this weird psychological / supernatural / I don't know where I'm going. If you are a Ryan Murphy fan and you don't like knowing where they're you're led in 17 different directions, it's great.
Yeah, and I really love the fact that he...
Keep talking. I'm just going to change my mic.
No worries. He seems to have done his homework. All the backstories for each character, they are all flushed out, from her daughter to her husband in the coma. I think the only one for me that's a little bit of a miss, and hopefully it will get fleshed out more, is Nurse Red, where you're just thrown into this situation where this nurse flat out tells Niecy's character that, I'm in love with your husband, have been having an affair with your husband, and it'd be great if you just signed over all your rights to me.
That was
ballsy.
She comes in on the scene a little too hard for me.
Yeah.
That was the one thing that I was like, okay, this doesn't make any sense that you're this tied to this random patient.
Correct.
Of all the hospitals you could be at, you're at Big Red's fucking joint. And listener, if you know who Big Red is, she just doesn't feel like she belongs there.
Correct.
It really does muck with me on that. But whatever. I mean, I will always watch a Ryan Murphy production.
Yes,
I always will, even if it's not horror related. I liked Hollywood. What was the one he did with the two famous women?
Yeah, he's done Feud, so he's done...
Feud, that's it. Lily Tomlin and what's her...
Not
Lily Tomlin? Oh, sorry. Who was it? These are the two actresses.
These
right?
are, yeah.
Yeah. Who was it again?
I knew you were going to ask me.
You told me about this, so...
let me think about it, and I'll
fair enough.
As soon as we stop talking about it.
Did you watch stuff when stuff like Chucky or Evil Dead got its... I did.
Do
either of these?
One again. I just binged on Sunday all the Chucky again.
Okay.
The TV series, because once again you saw the production value of this. Yeah. You saw the a bit of a newness of how do you introduce a murder doll into a...
Well, after Megan's such success in the theaters, I felt that I heard it just got canceled. And Don Mancini, big fan of Winnipeg, because Cult of Chucky, Bride of Chucky, a lot of that stuff is filmed here, which sucks because it's what do they say? It's like grandfathered in, right? It shouldn't have died the same kind of death that what Netflix puts shit through now, where they're like, the ratings aren't there, the views aren't there, let's kill it. Like Chucky will have a home.
Yeah, and unless you have the fans come out and demand it be brought back, like some other fans have done for other shows.
Sure,
but
yeah.
It just, you're seeing on a lot of the streaming that if it doesn't hit this level, or after 1 or 2
90 days, fuck it.
They're not doing 3 seasons. They're deliberately getting out for, and some people are saying so they don't have to pay royalties, but
yeah, well, now they've realized that with these new contracts where streaming was now negotiated, they were like, well, we're not going to negotiate ourselves off the table, right?
Oh, okay.
So I think they realized, okay, well, in the 90 days that we will give you your bonus if it hits XYZ ratings, we now chop it before the 90-day window hits, and we don't have to pay them. I think you're onto something there. Because it's like, sure, we'll give you that, but we're also going to give us a way out.
Correct.
Which is really shitty. I mean, Ash vs. Evil Dead, Jimmy and Charles tell me all the time to watch it. I love them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I didn't watch it because I didn't want it to be ruined, right? When you take an original IP like that.
Okay.
Because Chucky's funny, right?
Yeah.
Like, Chucky, you can't really, but like, if you're going to take something that is so, iconic, and then be like, let's see if we can do this, just because it is Bruce Campbell doesn't mean it will always work, right? I mean, he works in Spider-Man, but would this work? But everybody's told me, no, it's actually, have you tried it? Was it, no?
No.
Okay.
But just looking at this list, I'm a little bit surprised because, one, I'm seeing that they've added Sabrina on here.
You would see that, right?
So, okay, I can see how you're dipping your toe into that, but if you're going that way, then is True Blood not supposed to be in here as well?
I mean, vampires, these are the 2 pillars of horror.
So that one's interesting for me. Scream, the miniseries that was on TV, was extremely well done, I thought.
That was like way back, 2015.
Something like that,
yeah. I heard it was...
There, I think, were 2 seasons of it.
And that's something you can do because you can have more Hillborough or whatever character it was. Like, you can play that.
Correct. And in the television series, it wasn't just a carbon copy of the movie that was then remade. They came up with different kind of background for it. So I'm surprised it's not on the list. And also, just to go on that Canadian angle, Slasher. Did you ever watch the Canadian series Slasher?
No, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Fantastic.
Okay.
They really pushed the envelope on gore. So I think it's season 2, I want to say, listener. If you haven't seen it, you have like 5 friends who go away to or went to a camp, and one of their friends dies, right?
Very Jason.
Well, they killed her, basically, and they bury her.
Very Camp Sleepaway.
But the camp is then bought out by other individuals who are trying to turn it into a new type of camp. So these 5 have to go back to try to move the body so they don't get caught. But what's interesting even more to that level, so they, of course, it releases someone who is now trying to kill them off.
Yeah.
Everyone at this camp, from them to the people building it, all have killed someone either directly or indirectly. So it's literally...
Isn't this like the One American Horror Story where they're all at camp that one season? This sounds so familiar. Like, this is Ryan Murphy taking it and being like, I liked it. I'm going to make it again.
Oh, it's like they killing, the way each person is killed off, how they're... It so is unique. just gory on some levels, creative on other levels.
So like a slasher.
It is series. In the slasher genre, definitely, of that.
Yeah, horror TV, I tell you, man, like, it really is, it's something to see. I mean, I remember back in the day, you'd probably try to tell somebody, let's make a show about a horror, and they'd be like, those are for miniseries, and like the last 2 weeks of October. Like, they would laugh you out of the room.
Correct.
But now we're getting American Horror Story in July. Right? Like, it's stepping outside of its parameters. It's and I feel it's the show, because it's not the movie, because everyone holds for 2 months. They either hold for late September till late October.
Correct.
Or January is where horror movies get dumped, right?
Yes.
And then they make a ton of money because everyone wants to go. So when you create this thing that is the series or miniseries or what have you, you get it. There's no release schedule.
Yeah.
There's no planning for it.
Although,
Well, there is, but it's not the same.
We did have Dark Shadows back in the, I think, 1960s, and then try to relaunch itself in the 90s, which,
then tried to make a movie out of itself.
Yep. But so it, tried audiences.
All the Monsters,
Correct.
Addams Family.
So they did try it outside of that.
Yeah.
Ryan Murphy, even though
comedy, funny,
this was campy, right? And then you did have, of course, with Ryan Murphy, when he's launching all of his American Horror Stories, it was always a leading up to Halloween.
Yes.
So you do have to applaud like other shows that are trying to, not to your point, it's on the downtime, either over the summer to link people in. Like if you put Yellow Jackets in this realm or adjacent to it,
you totally can, because we don't know what's happening, and cannibalism is super common in horror. So like what's happening on that show and where it's going to hopefully go, praise Jesus. It's adjacent. I mean, it's not sitting in the middle of the room, but it definitely is allowed in the party.
It got an invitation.
RSVP'd maybe. Horror miniseries. I'm a big fan of anything.
I'm just looking through.
Yeah, final thoughts
from here.
Penny Dreadful, never saw it. Bates Motel. What do you think of Bates Motel? I tried to get into it. I wanted to get into it. I love it. Just didn't love it enough.
I'm going to go and say I loved it.
Really?
I really did.
The boy can't, I mean, here's my problem. Didn't come to Bates Motel till The Good Doctor. So now I'm tainted.
There you go.
Because the show that should never have been made, called The Good Doctor, I find that, and I don't even have children to be offended by, but I find that idea offensive. And it takes a lot to offend me. Like, I don't get offended. I don't use the word loosely. And anyways, that's why I think Bates Motel fell off for me. And also, too, we're trying to squeeze so much out of this piece of cinema that stands alone.
But there was a hunger to know what in that relationship, when broke you down, that you idolized your mother to the point of keeping her corpse in the house and making you...
Oh, so that's where it went.
Yeah,
I just always thought it was like a story that would... I mean, I watched half of one season. This is why I'm where I am. But like, I didn't think it was going to be that on the nose, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, and they basically, it's the buildup of what is the relationship between Norman and his mother. And the slow stripping away of someone to that they become your entire world, her manipulation on multiple levels, because it's never just all of a sudden you're the crazy person, stabby. It's this slow...
It takes a while.
Build up for this, right? And to then the slow build of you kill your first person and how that make you feel, and then how do you plan for the next, and then the next.
Okay, maybe I'll go back to this.
It would. There was some good story in there, but once again, you should have known what is your beginning and what is your end, and how to wrap this thing up, as opposed to, they started bringing in a brother, and then he brought in a love interest, and so on.
These are the things that the executives get in the way of.
Correct.
They're like, hey, listen, ad dollars for this show, doing really well. How do we squeeze 3 more episodes in that don't mean fuck all to the plot?
Yes.
Right? And then piss you off because it's time not well wasted. Hemlock Grove. Don't even know what that one's about. Did you watch that one?
Yeah. Basic.
Yeah?
It's a basic one. I didn't get involved in it. I didn't get attached to it, so I can't speak to it.
I wanted to like Nosferatu. I just couldn't get there.
There were great moments of it. There was
I think Shauna started watching it, and I was like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, like this.
Because that's Spock, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And this, this ability to time travel, and this ability,
time traveling vampires.
This was it.
Twilight missed the boat.
And there's all the vampire children are kept away in Christmas land. And so there's a campy, there is a creativeness to it. But you are right. I don't know if they had the greatest of writers in it all the time, but there were moments where you're just like, ooh, where is this going to go?
Well, and you can see like the first episode's always like, okay. And then I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know why we're writing this. There's the show that gets all the love.
Yeah.
And then there's the show that's, it's like you either get the chef's table or you eat in the back alley. Right? That's where you get to work. That's your office. You're writing this show next to a box of old lettuce.
And it's not a Lady in the Tramp.
No, it's definitely not a Lady in the Tramp moment. Preacher, nah, I don't know. I mean, that's DC, I think. I think Preacher was based off of, in fact, I don't know. I'm talking out my ass. The Swamp Thing died a horrible death. I thought that was going to be fun. Swamp Thing's not even really horror, though. Swamp Thing is like, it's supernatural, but it's not horrific.
No.
It's just a creature from the swamp. I mean, it's trying to be a universal monster.
Yes.
Essentially, right? The creature from the Black Lagoon. Yeah. I mean, a lot of other, I don't know, In the Flesh. I don't know, The Baby. I think we're kind of getting to the point where we've either talked this out or this is the.
I think that, yeah. I mean, it's not an overly exhaustive list. Like, I have not been
it's
able
a
to.
Google search.
I haven't been able to see From.
I've heard it's interesting, though. It's
Exactly.
getting a lot of talk right now.
It's getting a lot of talk. So it's one of the streaming services I don't have, unfortunately, listener.
Which one is it? Is it AMC?
Once again, I know I don't have it. So is it Apple?
Are you sure you don't have it? Because sometimes I'm like, I don't think I can watch that. And then I'm like, oh, I can so watch this, and I can watch the fuck out of it. This is awesome.
No, I tried clicking on that and
You clicked on the tile.
And it's like, no.
You need to buy a channel.
You need to pay for this. Yeah, but I think, I think there's some good in here. And as you said, like The Haunting of Hill House, Blythe Manor.
Mike Flanagan is at the tippy top of this list, in my opinion. It's Mike Flanagan versus Ryan Murphy, and it's two different makers, right? It's two different creatives. You've got one who gets a huge fucking budget.
Yes.
You got another one who, like, when he's not making American Horror Story, he's making 911. And you're like, I get it, right? Like, your head's not where it is. But Mike Flanagan is, like, obsessed with horror and being a shepherd and a caretaker for it in Midnight Mass and the last one that we loved, the Nevermore, the inspired the Manor, not
Blythe Manor,
Blythe Manor,
Haunting Hill House.
No, the one that's based off of the Edgar Allan Poe.
Yes,
I'll get it. Let's fuck. No, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this proper. We're gonna do this with our brains. It's got, shit. We're not.
No, we're not. It's gone.
I'll bring it up on my phone. The Fall of the House of Usher.
Usher. Oh, damn it. Which I'm surprised is not on here.
You know, I went miniseries and it did pull some of his stuff. Like it's got Bly Manor and Hill House, but it doesn't have. It's also got Midnight Mass. I think it might be too soon. I think Google just isn't like a lot. Like it's just not one of those. But he also did Dr. Sleep, the remake of Gerald's Game 2. Like he does stuff.
Yeah.
Like he's all over the map. But yeah, I will break plans. I will lie.
Yeah.
I'll short of a sex change, I will do whatever it takes to be home on release night for a mic. Like The Life of Chuck, the one he did with Stephen King, or I Love Chuck, his new, he released it at TIFF.
Okay.
It's a Stephen King book.
Okay.
It is off the charts. Everyone just couldn't say enough good things about it. So
I'll have to look that
I'm
up.
sorry. I want to see Mike Flanagan and Ryan Murphy make a show together.
And just while you were looking that up, just for the close a circle off, the two actresses in Feud, Susan Sarandon, Jessica Lange.
There it is.
I knew my brain would be able to pull it up.
You didn't have to fucking Google it. I did. All right. Fair enough. Tony gets a point. All right, so let's move on to the next part of our skinny episode for you this week, listener, which is the psychological versus the paranormal. We've had this conversation on the show before. We've done this for Halloween specials, but we've kind of been like, meh, get it in, get it out, move it on. I want to give it some actual time. Nice. So first of all, first question, how do you prefer it? Do you like in the fucking head, or do you like your heart racing and being scared?
No, I like I love the psychological. Okay. I think it's got more danger because the best horror films never show you anything.
Yes, this is very true.
Seven, not a horror film, certainly in the suspense
psychological thriller.
But the fact that you really never saw the killings, you saw around the killings, you saw pieces of it, but it was never, your brain filled in the gap.
I'll give you one. Bruce in Jaws.
Yeah.
2.5 hours before you see the shark.
Correct.
Right? You are alluded to. Not allowed to see. And it's because of mechanical failure in real life that happened. But you're totally right. Pulling it out.
Yep. And so then they play with sound. They're playing with your own emotions, right? Because once you start showing way too much and you're moving into that slasher or the porn horror area.
Yeah. Saw shit.
Now,
gore porn.
I will say this. Cabin in the Woods.
One of my... How new I am to that movie?
Top.
I saw the movie 3 years ago.
Yep. Oh my Lord,
That's how long it took me to watch that movie. And then when I watched it, I was like, I'm a fucking idiot.
one of the best. We saw that movie in theaters, loved it. And it's funny enough, I believe the lore around it was made, and they were never planning on actually releasing it. They didn't think it would actually have any weight. It was only until our gentleman who plays Thor hit it big that they thought, oh, his credibility will sell this now. They released it, and it's actually a fantastic part now of the lore or the history of legendary horror movies. Now, they'll put the scare and the killing right in your face, but it's done, and I think in a really good way of roping you in.
It is what it is until it isn't.
Correct.
And then when it isn't, it's even more fun.
So it puts itself out there with the killings. It puts it out there with some of the gory aspects.
It's Evil Dead.
Yeah, but it's done extremely well, right? Whereas, for me, I love the psychological aspect of the horror genre itself much better. It creeps you out. It gets stuck inside you.
Yeah.
It lingers a lot more than just, wow, that is a creepy way you just died.
Well, Blair Witch walked out with you for weeks.
There it is.
Right? Whereas, I don't know, Jason.
Correct.
Right? Like Back from the Dead. Okay, I already know that's not true, but something that could be true, might be true, alludes to being true.
Yeah.
Playing with my head the entire time is the easiest way to do it. Like The Strangers messed with me so hard.
Yes.
Because of simple camera tricks where you see one of them walk in and walk out.
Yes.
I don't know what the method behind this person is. I have no idea what their agenda is. I know Freddy's agenda.
Yes.
I know Jason's agenda.
Correct.
I know Michael Myers' agenda, right? Like kill.
Correct.
But when you start to play with how I think of a thing,
Correct.
or how my morals and my ideas and my life learned lessons or whatever, and then I start to question that shit, that stuff's way more fun. And I mean, those are the characters that we like when you see the manic break, or when the character themselves is psychologically broken, then it makes you start to question what you would be like if you were broken to that point, right?
Yeah.
So 23, we're not going to do them all for you listening. I promise it's a short episode. But 23 of the best psychological horror movies of all time, ranked by EW, Entertainment TV. They put at the top of their list, 23 was Smile.
Interesting. Certainly because it's new. Although I'm hearing great reviews over Smile 2.
So am I, yeah.
So, they're saying it's taking it to another level and in a new way. So good on them.
Well, and it's doing the thing where we were saying it's suicide.
Yeah.
That is now being given the protagonist, or the antagonist, I should say. And that in and of itself is, you think about suicide and how it affects you. It's a whole different game of being mentally broken.
Yeah.
Because we don't like talking about suicide. And this puts it front and center. It makes it as graphic as possible. It doesn't make it an approachable conversation, but it does spin the idea of, can an emotion now become
a killer? Yeah.
Right? Can it take on a shape? Did you catch the promo for it when they did it? Did you see all the shit they were doing when it first came out?
For
the first Smile?
Yes.
They were sending people into like arenas just standing there smiling at you.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't talk to you. And they would just smile as you walked by. And they would be that smile. And they would not say anything, and they were like, what the fuck, why are these people wandering around the world just smiling at you? And then it's slowly but certain you found out that Smile was coming out. So yeah, I mean, we'll make this easy. Smash or pass.
On its own, it's good.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm more curious. I'm going to say,
does it deserve a spot on a list somewhere to you?
I think it deserves a spot on the list. Now, depending how thorough this list is, I particularly did not go through the list before coming on because I want to be surprised.
We never do. Midsommar.
That is brilliant.
Badass brilliant.
That is brilliant. That needs to be
A24 knows fucking horror.
That is a really good production house now on horror movies.
Oh, yes.
They have, and hopefully...
They just filmed a movie here this summer.
Yes.
Kyle MacLachlan, January Jones.
Yeah.
How shocked were you when you first watched it?
You know what? So Midsommar, because I'd seen Heredity, I'm already fully aware of the kind of lines...
What you were walking into.
Yeah. Still... you're just one of those movies where you're just like, what the F? And you know something, you just feel what more bad is going to come, what more bad is going to come, what more bad is going to come. And I love the fact at the end, you could tell that she had no problem selling him out in the end.
No, none whatsoever.
Because a person who has no family finally has family. It's a grotesque family, but the person who had been lying to you and she
gaslighting the fuck
out of you the whole time. Yeah, she had, and you could tell she knew what she was doing based on the smile in the end. That she was like
just sitting in her little pyramid of flowers.
And now I've gotten everything I want of a family and of a place.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't think about that. I just think about the cult. And like I think about it on its nose.
Yes.
I don't think about Midsommar with like a deeper theme like you just explained. That's interesting because she does lose her family.
Yeah.
And I never go back to that, right? I'm like, okay, that was a way to start a movie.
Yep.
And like the way they zoom in on like the cursor blinking.
Correct.
Right? And like my heart, I was like, oh my God. Like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
That kind of shit gets inside of your head and doesn't leave you for the full film.
Like this movie for me has elements of Wicker Man.
Yeah.
You're waiting,
oh, yeah.
You're waiting to know, okay, where's the Wicker Man element here? And
yeah.
And it was worse than I thought.
It does, like, I mean, she's great. I'll watch Pew 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 all the fucking day long. But those other dudes were kind of, I mean, we could have found better dudes. That's all I'm saying. But Get Out.
I saw this movie also in theater. Never have I been in a theater where crowd members are applauding, are screaming at the screen.
That's
going,
ethereal. I love it.
Get him. Like, it was a visceral response from the audience into this. And we were just like, what are we? This is an experience. So
see, I had that for like Marvel when Cap's like assemble. I haven't had that for like an actual cinematic feature. Just when you finally realize that it's like the original, what's the thing? The original lobotomy.
Yes.
Right? And you're like, this is just like, but then I go, could someone in America could think this is a good idea? Like, I think Jordan Peele made a plan for one fucking racist asshole somewhere in America, right? And I mean, I love Jordan Peele. I love that he's such a I love what he does. I don't love Jordan Peele. I think he's kind of a dick, but like, I love his talent.
Very talented.
Yeah, even Nope.
Yes,
right. Like a giant alien ship that's an alien instead. Like all of that stuff. Like it's way sci-fi left of horror, but like it's still fun.
Well, this is, Peele is certainly where M. Night Shyamalan career should have been going.
Sure, yeah.
Right? You were both in that area of intelligence, of smart, of trusting in your audience.
Yeah.
But we're done with the whatever the twist is. So now all you're watching with an M. Night Shyamalan movie is what is the twist and how are we getting around
You're
it?
waiting for it.
Whereas Peele is still giving you a different element every time. And what I love is, once again, horror, which never gets a lot of love at the Oscars. This was one of those. This is one of those that comes out.
Right? Blair Witch. Can't talk about psychological without really talking about what was your first take on found footage horror? Because this is really the
this is the birther of all the found footage, and for its element, now there are moments where your brain is like, why do you keep running with the camera? Right? Why? Same. My brain in.
Well, you're trained to be like, I can't see. Stop running. But
it was nauseating. But I thought it was great. I thought it was smart. I thought these actors' careers were going to bloom.
We all did, yeah, totally.
Because this was almost like $1 billion kind of blow-up movie, and now, if anyone's done the research, they got screwed over immensely.
Yeah, they got it in the pooch.
And so they are the poster children of
don't sign the first deal.
Correct.
I mean, I wasn't. I'm not saying this just to be like anti, but like I wasn't. I mean, I understand what it did for found footage. I'm a big fan of found footage. It's just this isn't really. It didn't really do much for me because I was like, okay, we're running through woods.
Yeah.
And there's this witch, and one person might not make it. Okay, I know where we're going.
Yes.
Paranormal. What's the one?
Oh yeah, Paranormal Activity.
Paranormal Activity. Thank you. Those, right? Like home security cameras where it's like still shots.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. I like a lot more. And I mean, I know I'm saying, it's apples and oranges, but
Yeah, and the only thing with me and the paranormal franchise, although I'm loving all the links and all that they're trying to weave together on it is literally it's in an hour and a half. It's an hour and 20 minutes of the door opens, the ball moves, and then it's 10 minutes of everyone getting slaughtered.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and then it's credits, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh my god, you could have spread this out a little bit.
the pacing, the editing, yeah totally. Can't talk about psychological. We're talking about The American Psycho.
I don't know if it's so much psychological because he kills a lot of people, right?
Oh, he does, but you don't know if he did or not. That's the trick.
Yeah.
Right? Spoiler alert. Which, fuck Luca for trying to make a remake. Like, I like him as a filmmaker, but he just got the deal to remake this.
I know. Did you hear who they're casting?
Who the fuck is getting this?
It's if you watched, listener, if you watched the Ryan Murphy's recent Monster
Oh, shit.
of the Menendez
Really?
brothers, it's
Lyle.
It's Lyle.
Okay, that look works, but nobody is going to be Patrick Bateman more than Christian was Patrick Bateman.
This is
Nobody's going to say it's Cillian Braille better than this guy. I'm sorry, I can't.
My only dilemma is that this is a movie particularly that is reflective of its time, the 80s. And unless you have references to the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Business cards, right?
Overspending, haircuts.
I don't know if it's going to translate to this new generation, right?
You don't think this generation's got enough problems with overspending and wealth? I mean, it could be Lamborghinis and, Coke off stripper tips, right?
If they're going to try to do it from the 80s perspective,
Sure.
it won't. If you're going to try to do it as maybe they were all, influencers and blah, blah, blahs, sure. But this is certainly a moment in time based on a book. It'd be interesting to see how they translate it.
You got a little chow? Is that what we go to the newspaper on the ground? I love Huey Lewis. Yeah, no, it's it always any list out there. I'll always save room for American Psycho. Black Swan, not horror, but
Not horror.
psychological.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, okay. So she's the Black Swan the entire time. Great metaphor, big fucking deal. But no, I don't want to give this any time.
No.
Don't Look Now. Seen it? I've never seen it. Donald Sutherland.
I can't recall if I've ever seen that
John
one.
Baxter and his wife Julie Christie grieve for their loss of their daughter in Venice, but a clairvoyant, played by Hilary Mason, insists that their little girl is trying to reach out to them and warn her parents of some unknowing danger. Meanwhile, a serial killer terrorizes the city. Yeah, that sounds like 13 other movies.
Yeah.
The Babadook. I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it?
No, Shauna has.
I've seen The Babadook.
Okay.
On a recommendation of a friend who also adores, loves
Urban
horror.
legend kind of thing, right? But how is it psychological? Because The Babadook looks like something supernatural.
It's a bit of psychological because in so they tell you through the premise that the Babadook is part of a story, right? But then things are happening in the house.
Okay.
Now, of course, like all new modern horror genres is it you? Because they take someone who is a mental state slightly broken to begin with. And so is this just an extension of their actual brokenness?
Okay.
Or is this an entity that's actually there? And for the longest time, you can't tell, are you just really crazy? Or no, you've got something. So it's that
Fourth wall kind of shit.
Well, very much what Stephen King does, right? He takes broken people and then he inserts either an alien or an entity onto them. And which one is it? And it's usually a combination of them both.
Is it scary? The Babadook doesn't, like, the Babadook. It doesn't, like, when I say it, I laugh. It's Babadook.
Of all the horror that came out of Australia, like...
This is Australian?
This is based out of Australia.
Okay.
This would not be it. Funny Games, my friend?
Fuck yes.
Yes.
All day.
Right? Eden Lake? Yes.
That scene, but okay.
Definitely see that one.
Yeah.
But Babadook? Not really.
Okay. All right. I mean, it's
For
on
me.
Rosemary's Baby.
Of course.
Of course.
That's always going to be in there.
The definition of gaslighting.
Yeah.
Right? I haven't seen it since my mom showed it to me, right? Because, I mean, that's one of those, like, horror movies that...
It's a classic.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
Mia Farrow just showing what a broken person can look like.
Correct.
And through a pregnancy.
Yeah.
You know, that's the worst time in a woman's life. You're going to fuck with her. I mean, it's not... It's a good... When you want to define a movie, it has all of the mechanics there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't get me off the couch and start jumping around for it. I applaud it cinematically. I
Yes.
applaud it creatively. I applaud it how it's made, right?
Yeah.
But Nah, I'm not.
It will go down always as one of those that's on every list every time, right?
Can't be. It's Citizen Kane of horror.
Yeah.
Or psychological, whatever.
Based on the book and then made into the movie. If listener, you've gone and saw the series that's on TV right now, that I think was done in the early 2000s with Zoe Saldana, where they made it into a series.
Really?
Yep. She does a great job, but once again, you're stretching it out and you're milking this, which is really...
What did she do on Tuesday before it happened?
Right. And but yeah, I mean, it's certainly
1968 too, right? Like,
yeah,
not like the 60s. I don't know much about the 60s for film, but I don't think we were making a lot of these kinds of movies at the time.
No, like there's these kind of psychological ones were
like Hitchcock
kind of so Hitchcock is making psychological. They place them into this horror genre, but you're also getting into The Omen. You're getting
that's right,
The Exorcism, right?
Yeah.
Right? Which are well received, which got Oscar nominations and all that. But so they'll always be on those lists.
Diabolique, never seen. Wait Until Dark. These are classic. Like,
see, Wait Until Dark. No, you're now pushing it here.
It's got
right?
Richard Crenna from Rambo in it. Jesus Christ. Yeah, you are getting into like paying homage on this list.
Because now you can have every Hitchcock movie on this list,
sure,
right? So
throw Birds up there.
Yeah.
Right?
So this is a psychological movie, but I don't know about this.
Not psychological horror.
No.
Like it doesn't. Now, Seven, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Seven is always watchable for me. Seven is my David Fincher jam. Seven is What's in the Box, right? Like it just rocked you. You'd never seen anything like it before.
Correct.
Specifically the 7 deadly sins being used so graphically.
And this is also a movie defined by its time, defined by these actors at their peak right across the board. Unfortunately, having Mr. Spacey in it there.
Like the art, not the artist.
Correct. But always...
Did you notice it's number 7 on the list too?
But certainly a brilliant movie that is watchable every time.
Yeah. I mean, you're just like, it's 7 vignettes until it's the thing, right? And you're like, which one do you like? You can watch Sloth all you want. You can watch Gluttony all you want. Turn it off, right? Like you...
I do challenge any listener of yours, try if you got it on video or on on TV, to when they through the opening credits where they're showing you parts of the books.
Yes.
Try pausing it and try to read what he's either written or what he's either drawn to get the insight into him, because in the movie theater it's just going rapidly across your face.
Well, it's a 9 Inch Nails song too, so it's got a high BPM.
But you've got a lot of these little eggs in there that you can now, as you own it, look into.
I would love to keep going down the psychological path. So we're going to move into a ranker. Obviously, this is made by us, the fans, not some paid asshole at Entertainment Weekly. So this is going to be a little bit all over the map based on how it's voted. But it does start off really well for the Supernatural, which is the Conjuring series. What do you think?
I love the Conjuring series.
It's Patrick Wilson, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I always confuse that with Insidious. I confuse the two between Ethan Hawke and Patrick Wilson, but they're true life ghost hunters, right?
Yes.
Like that's... See, I like a little bit of that in my shit. I like a little bit of Ronnie DeFeo. I like a little bit of, somebody committing something heinous and it turning into something more.
Yeah, and if you know the backstory of the ghost hunters themselves,
weren't they like con artists before, and then it kind of like turned out that they like had to prove that like they were in a jam or something? I don't know. I
don't know that part of the story, but they do show you pictures of them if you've done any research or Google on them. These are, it's based in some levels of fact, and of course, with the Conjuring link into the Annabelle series, right? Annabelle is based actually on a real live freaky doll that
they have. One of the dolls that's in their room, right?
In their room, but it's actually based on a real doll that these hunters have put in a glass case, so there's multiple layers into the realm of truth that's
a little bit in the head and a little in the
correct,
the less reality, more fantasy kind of thing. I like a good ghost story. I am always like, I mean, everyone thinks they've seen one. Everyone thinks they've heard one. Everyone knows someone that thinks or has seen or heard one, right? So, I mean, it's what we all It's what we first were dressed up for is Halloween. Like, it's got so much. You put a bedsheet on, you're a fucking ghost. But, yeah, no, I really like Ghost Hunters. I think if you're going to give me something ghost-related, give it to me, and we're chasing down ghosts, and I've got my EKG reader or whatever. And I loved how it, like, got more current, right?
Yes.
Like, it went from the 70s, and it aged out and got more into the contemporary time. I haven't seen them all, but what I have seen, I have very much enjoyed. The Exorcist. Want to talk about the supernatural Mac Daddy of them all?
I mean, this is it. This is the...
Fuck yourself, priest. Eat my cunt, Marin.
But, you know, one of the first horror movies to really be received by the Oscar community, right?
William Peter Blatty, right?
know?
Like, Oscar nominated. But, I mean, that's also... I mean, you have Max von Sydow, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like that movie came out and it was like, if we don't nominate it, we're going to eat shit, even though it is about a cross fucking Satan-possessed baby girl.
However, it riveted audiences.
It did.
It's, you know...
It had us puking. Like, first reviews of this, people were walking out of the theater being like, what am I watching? And I mean, it's the age-old good versus evil.
And now I try to watch the...
Exorcist Beginning?
Yeah. It's unfortunately, you're not going to capture that lightning in a bottle again.
Nope.
So at some point, people stop.
Yeah.
Unless you're, you know, don't try to remake it. This were very good actors at the top of their game.
That was Blumhouse, too. That
Yeah.
did that, with David Gordon Green.
Yeah, I think they tried, and it was a swing and a miss.
Were you like, why are you doing this opening dogfight sequence? Like, they really copied exactly how The Exorcist starts. With the two animals losing it on each other, and like it's this picture of like, oh, if the dogs are attacking each other, what else is happening?
Correct.
It gives you all this. Did you like the other two? Like, did you like 3 specifically? Because I think 3 is one of the most underrated horror movies. Did you see it? It's where they find the priest from the first one. He's in an insane asylum, but he's been taken over by a serial killer.
Yeah, and once again,
George C. Scott. No, it's not your.
You can't capture. There's some you just cannot redo.
Oh, I don't.
And you can't even build on. It's just like, you know.
Okay.
You have Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Poltergeist 1 is amazing. 2 through 1 zillion, no.
Yeah. Again, it's always like a horror movie is a hard thing to make a sequel out of. I think because you've shown me who it is. You've shown like. I saw Freddy. Why do I need 12 Freddys?
Correct.
Right? Like, why do I need 12? Why do I need Jason in space? Right? Like those never really. Like, it was just. It got out. It got outside of its original, I guess, objective.
Yeah.
And then became just a giant piece of marketable shit. Insidious, next on the list. Insidious.
You know,
scary.
They're scary. There's a lot of jump factors on here. There's a lot of, once again, there's a bit of that psychological built into this kind of thing. And of course, you're building an entire franchise, a back force connecting with other things. So it's smart. But I only don't know how long of this kind of possessing of this person into the red room and this one creature and which creature and oh my god, are you also going to be connected to the creature in the nun and blah blah blah, like are you all in one giant room holding hands here? Like, no.
I mean I like my Ethan Hawke, but this one, I mean, okay, you're a writer, you're in a house. I've seen this before. It's called The Shining, right? Like, I can you didn't catch the two together? Isn't he a writer? Or am I confusing this?
No, you're confusing. You're thinking because you're thinking the one where he watches the reels and then all the
yes.
That's not Insidious. It is
Sinister.
It's Sinister.
I'm confusing Sinister.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Because I'm like, where are you going with these?
Then I don't know what I'm talking about. With
Sinister,
yes.
I did like.
I like. That's what I'm talking about.
That one I did like.
Right?
Yes.
Picking like that's the Amityville horror kind of thing where like you're picking up some old history from a place or where something bad happened and you're getting to watch it all over again.
And I love the end. Not to give it away, but I love the ending. She's like, "I'll make you famous, Daddy."
Yeah, right. I'll put you in the films, Daddy.
And it was brilliant, right? And so it was smart the way it did it. You know, unlike say Oculus, which tried it on a similar vein. I didn't.
Yeah. There was that one show on Netflix too that was all about sound.
Yes.
Like I got the sound recordings.
Yes.
I was really glued to that one, and then it fell off a cliff for me a little bit. Yes, I mean Poltergeist. You can't talk about this without talking about Poltergeist. But I don't really like. I don't find it. I mean, it's a piece in a long road of getting to crazy supernatural stuff. You can't build the Lego tower of horror without having it in there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't do much for me.
It was, I think it was great for young people in the 80s.
Sure.
It's much like where we...
Oh, Steven Spielberg not making a scary alien. He was making a scary...
Correct.
Right? Like, it was the flip side of Spielberg.
Yeah, like for me, Poltergeist will always be in that realm, unfortunately, like Gremlins.
Yes.
Right? Is it a horror? Is it not? Well, yeah, technically people die, right?
Yeah. But it's funny as fuck.
Correct. And Poltergeist, it was a Steven Spielberg.
But yeah.
It was a Steven Spielberg movie. It's not an E.T. version of it, but once again, it's grounded as he all does. Family, like fuck,
family, separation, problem with my mother.
Correct.
Yeah. No, it's whatever I do, I will do it. So yeah, The Ring. I mean, that's a Korean remake, right?
This is the thing.
Yeah,
so
The Ring and The Grudge are the two that got the American remake.
Like, I did think The Ring and The Grudge on their own, the American versions are good.
Grudge better than Ring for me.
But to watch the original Korean movies, better.
Yes.
And that whole Korean horror genre, they really
doesn't get enough respect.
No, it really is up there of pushing things. Whether you're counting, if we're looking at Parasite, and the whole,
just Korean cinema in general. Like,
correct.
You're so like I was so gobsmacked at like how big of an idiot I was after I watched Parasite, and I was like, I have alienated a whole entire part of the world because I don't speak their language.
Yeah,
and that was when Bong Joon-ho was like, get comfortable with subtitles, and I'm like, I will. Thank you. You can be scared by reading what's happening on screen and not understanding it. You can really get sucked into it. I mean, it's Naomi Watts in The Ring,
who does a really good job.
Yeah.
And I think Naomi Watts, to the movie I mentioned before, which was Funny Games, was in that.
Yes.
So she has got a lot of street
Tim
credit.
Roth and her,
Yep.
right? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Did you like the original?
Funny Games, the
Dutch version? Is it Dutch? Yeah.
I think it's
Swedish, Australian.
Yeah, I think it's Australian as well. Having never seen it, but the one I saw, the American version, scarred me so much. I don't want to go back and see the original because it is one of those psychological.
Yeah.
It stayed with you, and the scene where you think he's getting away, and they're like, nope, and let's turn back the clock.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy crap.
That switch is what changed that.
Yeah.
You can't. We're not going to ruin it for you. Just watch Funny Games.
Exactly.
Listener. Watch it. The Shining. Still to no, not.
I'm going to go out there. I'm going to say it's good.
Is it because he bastardized a King novel, or is it because
no?
you just
It's
don't like
good.
the movie?
Of course, everyone knows the history of how intense that filming was. Certainly, it's got great actors.
Let's rephrase how intense Kubrick can be.
Correct.
Olive Oil found that out the hard way.
God rest her soul,
Right,
Shelley
yeah,
Duvall there.
yeah.
But it certainly was a testament to her staying psychologically maybe intact. For me, though, everyone speaks with it with such reverence, much same like Psycho. It's not my reverence one.
It's almost you're afraid to not love it.
Correct.
Like you're going to get shunned if you're like, I don't like The Shining. What the fuck is wrong with you? Well, there's nothing. I just don't like The Shining.
Correct.
I can see that. Sure. I mean, I like it. I like all the deep-seated history in it. I like the different meanings you can pull from it.
Correct.
I like the documentary Room 237. I like how it keeps evolving, and it's like a living thing, right? Like, we always come back to The Shining somehow, and we always, like, until Jack Nicholson's dead, we'll never, even after he's died, we'll still talk about it, probably even more than we should. But I love not knowing if you know what's going on. I like that in a movie. I like when you're unsure because the character's unsure, and you're along for the ride instead of you're unsure of what's coming next. You're as unsure about what's real and what's not.
Correct.
Is this bartender really here? Is he not? It strays so far away from the book.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, in and of itself, it's not scary to me. It's
creepy.
Yeah. It never really scared me. The book I hear terrifies people.
Yeah.
But watching an old woman in a shower who's half dead or a guy getting blown by a furry, just creepy as fuck.
Correct.
But definitely psychologically brutal at the end of it. Like when you think about going through the maze and
yes,
how many loops he's done, and when you finally want to take a fucking now, why are we putting Nightmare on Elm Street? I don't even like. I mean, I know it's supernatural because it's somebody back from the dead.
Correct.
But I don't think it deserves to be this high on this list. Number
I'm
10?
surprised. I'm surprised at number 10.
That's what bothers me the most. Like it's B level. I mean, I know the history. Robert Englund. I know.
Yeah.
Like he did a lot for that character, and I even liked Wes Craven's New Nightmare with a robotic hand, like all that stuff. I really started to get back into Freddy later in life, but I don't think it's this high ranking on a list where we all have access to fucking vote.
Yeah, because almost like we're ranking the supernatural, right?
Yeah.
So okay. So I'm assuming if we're at 10, listener, with Nightmare on Elm Street, so Freddy, Jason is coming down at what, 9 or 8? Like we're now just going to
We're
get
in the top 10 still. What do you not like? There's so much still to go.
Right.
Which we won't get to the bottom of this list, listener. But then we've got Insidious Chapter 2, The Autopsy of Jane Doe. I never saw. The Others with with Nicole Kidman. Did you see The Others?
I did. Once again, so The Others isn't about people who are dead and not knowing that they're dead. So you're not an entity.
Yeah.
You're the dead. Okay, Freddy Krueger is a evil entity from hell.
Yeah.
This is just a bunch of dead people who didn't leave the home. So
it's The Sixth Sense Part 2.
Correct.
Yeah, that doesn't. I'm not interested in seeing that.
And now you're going now
we're jumping to Amityville Horror.
Yeah.
Which is all about a Indian burial ground and acts of weird shit that happened there. Amityville Horror, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I was like, am I talking about the right movie?
Yeah.
Did you like the Ryan Reynolds version, the remake? Because I mean, the original, I love the whole story. I think that's why my mom's been to the house.
Yes.
She's got pictures of it outside of the house. When you go to Amityville, nobody wants to tell you where it is because it's like Amityville's like Bridgewater on steroids.
Yes.
It's a bedroom community. It doesn't like the history. And I think all of those things where you've got a supernatural aspect like Conjuring tacked onto a real life incident.
Correct.
And a guy swearing that he heard catch him, kill him, catch him, kill him, catch him, kill him, and he killed his whole family. I love that all day long.
I mean, I think this is one of those movies that the fact that the blood bled out of the walls and all that. It's one of those things that has now become legend of cinema, right?
Yeah, sure.
If you watch the original itself, it's nothing great. It's not really a lot of great acting. It's not a lot of it's a lot of jump scares.
Yeah.
But it's these pieces that have just stayed in our memory that is now will repeatedly get it onto this list forever, right?
It did. It understood the assignment when it came to fucking with you,
right?
And again, insanity always wins with me.
Right.
Going into going after your family. I mean, it's got a little Shining in it, somewhat, but I'm always game for that because I'm like, let's see how far we go. You mentioned The Omen earlier,
exactly, and I'm just like,
had its remake.
Correct. Once again,
Devil's Spawn.
I think it had a stellar cast, which is why it drew a lot of people in. So it gave a lot of
Gregory Peck, yes, and Lee Remick and David White. Yeah,
this gave it credibility, right?
Yeah.
And thankfully, it was done really well. But once again, not a lot of things happen.
No.
Lee
is he or isn't he the devil?
Correct.
That's all we're really waiting for.
And we're waiting to see if you're able to kill him. And we, of course, as all things on TV, you can't kill a child. And
you can these days.
Well, no, you can just.
I am shocked at how much child killing I'm actually seeing on TV. I'm like, man, you guys are getting away with some murder. Original It.
Yeah, that's what I love on this ranking. They put the original It,
not the remake,
which not taking anything away from Mr. Skarsgård there. Fantastic performance.
But Tim Curry.
That is legend of children's childhood.
Do you float, Georgie? Want to come down here, Georgie?
Yeah. Now I will say this: It Chapter 1, scary as all hell. It Chapter 2, shit the bed.
The original?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a giant spider. It's a giant spider.
I know.
And it wasn't even a good giant spider at the end.
Not even the robotic spider from Wild Wild West.
Yes,
it's just a giant fucking spider. Skarsgård, the new one.
Yes,
that was a good.
Correct.
That I think they were like, we can't have a giant
spider.
We need every version of what the kids see at some point or another, right?
Correct.
And that, I mean, also built on like 30-40 million, I think. The new one, like they did it really cheap and it was almost $1 billion.
But you could see based on the kids that they selected,
Yes, yeah.
the music, but Sarsaparilla sells it, right?
Yeah.
He actually can spin that eye. That's not CGI. That's his actual eye going off to the side and all that.
Really?
That's him, yeah. He did it on, I think, one of the late night talk shows, and they're like, how did you be that creepy? And he just leaned into the camera and moved the eye, and it was the creepiest thing.
I will always swear by. I mean, and it is like a experience, right? Like
Correct.
get a big bucket of snacks. You're in for what, like 4 hours almost, 3.5 hours if you're watching, because this was a TV movie, right?
This was once again. This was the '80s. This was
Yeah,
a mini
this was 2
series.
weekends and-
This was a mini series
Yeah.
kind of thing where
It gets credited as a movie, but it's
technically a mini series.
Yeah.
And we all were glued to our TVs. The beauty was you had a scary moment, and then you got sold Pop-Tarts with a commercial, right? So you could have a moment of levity here.
Next on Full House, or maybe not then, but you know what I'm saying. I love 1408. I'm glad that it's we're gonna end at 20 here, listening.
Yeah.
You're almost out of here, but I think 1408 always scares the living shit out of me.
It's one of those very underrated.
Slipped by you.
yeah.
Didn't get a lot of fame.
No.
And I mean, Samuel L. Jackson is the most bankable box office movie star. He has made, when you take his movies, he's made more money than any other actor being in his movies. I mean, he's got Star Wars. He's got everything practically. He's touched everything. But this one, I again, One Room. I really love One Room.
Yep.
That kind of shit you can't escape. You feel boxed in.
Yep.
And then, just the time loop that really breaks me. Being stuck in a place where you can see out of, and people can see you, but you can't get out.
Correct.
I love that scene in it too when they meet for the first time and he brings them the bottle of booze.
Yes.
And they're having the conversation. He's like, I can't entice you. And he's like, no. And it's like, shit's fucking coming.
Correct.
All right. Last 3 spots on this list here. Annabelle Creation. I mean, you put 2 Conjurings in here. I guess that's why it got to the top so fast. I mean, I land with Chucky as a doll.
Yes.
If I want a doll in horror, I'm not Annabelle. I'm not Megan. I'm not even the little baby dinosaur from the dinosaur TV
Right.
show. Not the mama. I am 100% Chucky. So when you try to throw another doll at me, I just don't get interested. Did you like the Annabelle series?
I like when the Annabelle inside of
The Conjuring.
The Conjuring itself.
Yeah.
There was nothing. It's once again, it's a jump fest kind of movie, and it does nothing else for me.
What do you think of 19 Stir of Echoes?
I have not seen that one.
You've not seen Stir of Echoes?
I'm going to say this. I have not seen that one.
Oh, I have watched this movie so many times.
Okay.
I don't know why. It's not epic.
Okay.
But he meets a woman who can do like seances and
Right.
hypnotism. And she hypnotizes him into seeing ghosts.
Oh, Jesus.
One ghost. And he has to solve what happened
to the
woman.
go. Oh, okay.
The ghost won't leave him until he puts it all together. And all he sees are fragments of what caused her death
Okay.
at different points in his house, on the block, around the area, in front of his kids. And you slowly start to tie together that something happened that he's unaware of, but because he was hypnotized, he can now see only what she's trying to tell him. And he chases, and the stir of echoes is essentially what has happened.
Yeah.
He was stirred up, and all he sees is echoes of her death and echoes of what happened to her. And
Okay.
it's a lot closer to home than what you think it is. For its time, I mean, it's like late 90s, early 2000s. It's fun. Like, it's not something I would say, break all your plans and watch, but at the same time, I give it like a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
And then lastly, and I don't understand why the fuck it's up here.
I have no idea how Constantine is on this list.
Why is Constantine on this list? This is not I mean, it's supernatural in the sense that he is a exorcist, essentially.
Sure.
But it's not horror.
No.
It's a comic book.
Correct. I'm with
Dark
you.
Horse.
No.
Like, get off this fucking list. I love it. I'm glad they're making a sequel. I can't wait for him to come back and do this. But no.
No, I'm with you 100%. This, no, this is not on this list. But nothing taken away from it, because I actually did like his version of Constantine. I liked his performance in it. I'm maybe one of the very few who liked Keanu Reeves' Constantine. I could see exactly where this was going.
Did you read the comics at all? Or did you...
I read some of the comics my friend would lend to me, and so I understood where this character was coming. And when I saw it in the comic book, I thought, yeah, Keanu can do this. So I was disappointed that it didn't make a follow-up. I also really loved Tilda Swinton.
Oh, yes.
As
Gabriel.
Thought
and then Gavin Rossdale is who's the other one? There's Gabriel, and he was Baphomet, wasn't he? Wasn't he like the devil's like sidekick?
Correct.
Yeah, and then what's his face is the voodoo doctor, and Shia LaBeouf is the wannabe.
And
two frogs in a dress. Get out.
The best version of Satan I've ever seen.
Yeah,
the
Peter
voice,
Stormare.
the voice, the caution they put him in,
the tar coming out of it.
It's fantastic. It was the
grabbing into his fucking chest.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yep, it was really good. I was really surprised that it didn't immediately get a second one out of there. Having said all that, don't understand how it's on this list.
Yeah, you should be on like top 10 comic book to movie list.
Sure.
Top 10 like Exorcist lists.
Sure.
Top whatever, just not horror.
Correct.
And on that note, listener, thanks again for listening to another episode. It's been very fun entertaining you, and we hope that this is your first time. It won't be your last time. The easiest way to show your support, like you've heard on every other podcast you listen to. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. Smash the subscribe and like button. Put us in there each and every week. It's free, it's cheap, it's easy. If you really want to support us, buy our merch, and you can find all that stuff in our show notes, blah, 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 blah. You've heard this before as well, too. I just want to stress that besides having a wheezy cough in my chest that I've been trying to get rid of for 4 days, that you've been listening to, that if you have no plans on November 1st, come to Kevin Smith, gets Winnipegged. You're going to watch The Phantom of Paradise. It's going to be a really good time. Don't miss it. Like, don't listen to me talk about it the next week with everybody who went and you're like, shit, I wasn't there. FOMO sucks. You can't fix that.
Once in a lifetime.
Tony's going to be at Trivia probably, so you can see his face at November 15th at Capital K. You can see Marcel, who we tried to run upstairs and grab, but he was like, this isn't my genre. So, yeah, just subscribe to the show, and thank you again. We'll see you in a bit. Happy Halloween. I've been Michael.
I've been Antonio.
And we're your real debaters. Watch all the movies, kids. Say bye, Tony.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
If you have any problems, dial information. Thank you for calling.